This is a photograph of a fire ant nest on a curbside, and that photograph is actually 7 years old. This is just one of the many nests on this section of road, and I had become utterly frustrated at BQ then, not being able to eradicate these in spite of multiple treatments. I was interviewed by the ABC, who were looking for some footage of fire ants in the suburbs and in which this location was filmed, and I voiced my frustration at the BQ eradication program, and in particular of the many failings I was witnessing in the field treatment activities. In the end, I just gave up reporting. However, and now that BQ are giving out free fire ant bait to those who wish to self-treat, and out of curiosity, I revisited this very same curbside, only to find it as infested as it was 7 years ago. As I was at that site, and as BQ had given me a large quantity of Adveon, I decided to treat all these fire ant nests myself. This photograph is one of the many nests along the revisited curbside, and as you can see by the next clip, there are many. Each red dot represents one nest. Frustratingly, whilst treating these curbside nests, I came across one nest which was very active. And note, at this time the nest has not been disturbed, and normally very little activity is apparent around these nests. The manic activity was the result of a flying event where the male and female fire ants, alates, leave their nests to mate in the air and relocate to start new colonies. Female fire ants can fly as far away as 5 kilometers before falling to the ground, where they seek a suitable place in which to begin their own colony. Well, there's the females coming up now. We've had males predominantly, but here come the females. And I'm literally being hit on my hat by the ants that are trying to fly out. They're ricocheting off my hat and hitting me in the face. Just constantly pouring out. They are everywhere. And they're not using that plant on the side there to climb up and fly away. They don't need that. The wings are quite strong enough to simply fly from where they are. They are teeming out. Note in this footage I'm scalping the nests first, thereby exciting the fire ants, bringing them out in force, opening up the large gallery holes, which allows the bait to be taken up more quickly and ensures that the bait goes to the targeted species, which in this case are fire ants. Had the bait been distributed around the nest rather than on, and in my experience, much of it would be taken up by our native black ants, and it may also get diluted by events such as rain or heavy dew, whereas the quick take-up method will allow a substantial portion of the bait, if indeed not all, removed safely into the heart of the nest. Scalping the nest made no change to the alates or their numbers as they continued with their flying. There was no way I could prevent these fire ants from flying away and spreading further into the surrounding suburbs, so after this footage, and having watched on helplessly as thousands of these male and female ants flew away, I simply had to move off to the next job. This is another curbside job, and these nests are often very hard to kill, as they are most likely entrenched under the curbside and bitumen, from which they receive all year round heating provided by the concreted curb and the road bitumen. What you are seeing here is not grain on the move, but the ant grubs which were being incubated at the very near surface of the nest. As you can see, once again, opening up the lower galleries or the larger holes to enable the transport of grain easier and faster and immediate. This is interesting. You may see some of the larger ants dragging bait out of the galleries and onto the stockpile. I think it's just clearing the way, because I can assure you that piece of bait is taken up eventually, as are all the others where they've brought them out and put them in a spot. They've all been taken away in the end and back down into the nest. So I think it's a bit of housekeeping by the larger ants to let traffic back and forth. This next bit of clip obviously has been speeded up just for convenience, but I think you get the message in terms of the transport of the grain and where it's going to. Another difficulty arises in treating these nests, especially on horse properties where there are often pigeons, because pigeons pinch the horse food grain. They're also pinching the Adveon grain, and as soon as I put the grain down, they flock onto it. It's not only pigeons, it's magpies and purple swamp hens particularly. And as you can see here, the grain is on the ground. And as soon as I turn my back, those guys will flock straight onto it, and they will be getting into it. It's a problem. With the problem of birds taking the bait, particularly around these horse places, I decided to do some night video, which I had done before some years ago, and I knew from that fire ants do feed at night. Here we are in total darkness, and as you can see, I have torchlight, ordinary white light at the moment, and then I'm going to switch over to UV, to black light, which I've used in the past, and it really highlights the grain. Once again, I have scalped the nest first of all to open up the galleries. This is a flat nest on a paddock, much easier to tackle, and I will fast forward this because this goes on for quite a while. I returned the following morning, 12 hours later, and found the nest had been repaired by the fire ants and made waterproof, or reasonably waterproof, once again. If I had done this nest as a serious thing rather than just a sample to see what would happen, I would have scalped it more fully and treated with a little bit more Adveon. So I suppose I'll just keep an eye on this one, see how it goes out of interest.